Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to present the data availability in the case of Egypt. It's collective work. I'm just going to present and compile all the data I've received from many labor economists, mainly Ihan Selwanis, Hanan Nazir, Mona Saeed, and Iman Helmi. So I'm going to present the main data sources, and then okay, you hear me? Yeah, and then I'm going to present one by one the different outcomes and indicators and data availability for each one of them and the main challenges. So the main data sources, I'm not going to present an exhaustive list of the main data sources related to labor market because I think the exercise here is just to focus on what is needed and available regarding these labor market indicators. So mainly we have two kinds of data, labor market data sources, mainly the quarterly labor force surveys, and the microdata are available annually through the ERF data portal since 2006, and the most recent labor force survey is 2017. And we have a very rich data source, which is the Egypt Labor Market Panel Survey, and we are very fortunate to have many rounds of it, 1988, 1998, 2006, 2012, and 2018. And microdata are available and through also the ERF data portal. And the main differences between both surveys is the fact that the Egypt Labor Market Panel Survey is much more rich. We have a lot of modules that are very specific regarding very detailed information on education, labor market history, return migrants, female employment, detailed information on earnings. That's just, I'm not going to cite every detailed information we have in the Egypt Labor Market Panel Survey. And the other distinction is the fact that interviewers make sure that individuals age 15 and plus are answering the question. And it's not, and they make sure by going more than once visiting the household. I think up to 4 visits are made to make sure that the individual is going to answer for himself or herself. We have also establishment surveys, the employment wages and hours of work, but this is only limited to formal enterprises with 10 and more employees. And the secondary data source that is important for us is the household income and expenditure survey. We have, I'm not listing all the surveys on expenditure and income, but the last one is 2017-18, and since 2015, it's been collected almost every 2 years. So when we go now to the first labor market outcome regarding labor underutilization, almost all indicators are measurable. Discouraged job seekers are can be calculated or estimated through the ELMPS or through the labor force survey, at least for the 10 past years, because both ELMPS and LFS data include questions related to availability of employment and search for work. Regarding the need, young people not in education, employment, or training, we have a partial measure through the ELMPS and the LFS because we don't have any information on the current status of training. We have questions related to the fact that the employee needed, or the job, the worker needed to do some training in order to obtain a job, but we don't have specific information on the current training status. And the difficulty also is identifying those who are in military service, in particular in the labor force survey. We can maybe have an idea if they are under military service or not, because we have the reason why people are not in the labor force or out of the labor force. And one of them is other. And usually when the other is mainly male, almost all the other are young men. But we cannot be sure that they are doing their military service. Regarding time-related underemployment, we can measure it through the ELMPS and LFS. In the ELMPS, we have the number of hours worked during the week, and we also have the reason why people did not worked less than 35 hours per week. And in the LFS, we also have a question regarding time-related underemployment, but questions have varied across the rounds. Sometimes we have explicit questions. In the most recent labor force surveys, we have very explicit questions regarding the desire and search for additional work, and not limited for those who are working less than 35 hours per week. But before that, sometimes we have information regarding the reason why people are working less than 35 hours, and sometimes we have the desire and availability to, or desire to change work, or availability to do additional work. Part-time employment and potential labor force is also can also be computed via ELMPS and the LFS. Maybe I can give you a few values regarding. Oh, only 5 minutes, so I have to. Okay. A few values, as Ragi mentioned before. In Egypt, it's very important to estimate not only the standard unemployment rate, but also the broad unemployment rate, including those who are not searching for work. And for example, while female unemployment has decreased, when we look, when we limit, when we add the condition of searching for work, when we look at broad unemployment rate for women, it has increased. And so maybe I'm going to be faster. Type of employment and regularity of employment, we have no problem here. We have all information regarding the economic sector, social insurance, contract, regularity of employment, etc. So here, no problem. Earnings and non-wage benefits, maybe this is more tricky. The Egypt Labor Market Panel Survey gives very good information on earnings, hourly earnings or monthly earnings, and we can compute, of course, the nominal and the real hourly earnings and monthly earnings. So in the ELMPS, we have information on basic wage, incentives, bonuses, overtime, share of profits per pay period. In the LFS, we have the total net wages per pay period and the average daily wage, but we don't have detailed information regarding the wages. And they are less reliable, maybe mostly because they are less detailed, and also because, contrarily to the ELMPS, we are not sure the individual is answering for himself or herself. And the Employment Wage and Hours of Work survey also gives information regarding wages, but we have only aggregate average wages by occupation and education, and it only concerns workers in formal establishment. Non-wage benefits, we have all the data in the LMPS, and only very few information in the LFS. What I've searched, and I've only found it in the LFS 2012 regarding paid vacations and paid sick leave. I think there is something missing here, which was very important, but it's regarding the estimate of the percentage of working poor. We can use either the LMPS or the hikes, the household income, and it's not in here. It was supposed to be in here, but it's not in here. And so the hikes has a lot of information regarding expenditure and very detailed information on income. It could be earnings, rents, transfers, remittances, assets, financial assets, etc. And the LMPS, we have, as I said, detailed information on earnings. And Mona Saeed, Rami Galel, and Mina Sami have estimated the working poor through the ELMPS using the regional poverty lines from the hikes, and using also dependency ratios, and using the total earnings per month. So they were able to compute the percentage of working poor, and they estimated in 2018 that it was more than 50%. I think it was 57% of total workers. And so in this case, I think we have very detailed information on income and expenditure in the hikes, but not so many details regarding employment in the hikes. And on the contrary, in the ELMPS, we have very detailed information on employment and earnings, and less detailed information on income. However, we have quite a lot of information at the household level regarding different sources of income and their values. Social protection. Also here we have a lot of information at the household level regarding pensions, regarding social insurance, health protection coverage, and it's possible to compute, to estimate the percentage of individuals benefiting from social protection. And it's also possible to compute it through the hikes. And we don't have in Egypt, maybe in theory, but not in practice, we don't have unemployment benefits. Finally, safety and health at work. This is one of the lists where we have a lot less available information. We only have information in the ELMPS regarding non-fatal occupation injuries. We have information up to 3 injuries that happened in the past 12 months. And we also have information on exposition to risk. But we don't have information on fatal occupational injuries, nor on the days lost because of injuries. Industrial relation, very weak information. We only have union membership rate through the ELMPS. The question was also asked in some of the labor force surveys in 2010, 11, and 12. That's it. And finally, most of the labor market indicators can be measured in Egypt, so we are very fortunate. Either through the LFS or the LMPS, we have some indicators that are not covered at all. Fatal injuries, collective bargaining coverage rate, days not work due to strikes or lockouts. And we can also improve or add some questions, maybe have more consistent labor force survey data, because sometimes the way questions are asked are not very consistent, are asked differently in various years. And probably, in order to measure more adequately, need maybe have questions regarding the current status of training, and maybe, I'm not sure, this is very sensitive, I'm not sure we're going to be able to identify those who are in military service, and it would be great to also have the duration of the military service, because it has a lot, it affects a lot transition from school to work for men. Have more accurate data on earnings in LFS. It's a question, because if the individual is not going to respond, maybe the data will not be very accurate. And add or reintroduce questions regarding paid vacation, paid sick leave, social protection for all individuals and union membership. I would also want to highlight the fact that a lot of the LFS data are available at the microdata level through ERFs. However, some of the variables are not always present in the files, so it would be great to have a more harmonized and exhaustive list of variables. That's it.